Once you live here, you never really can leave. It's like, I know, I've tried. And you can go spend part of the year, but I always find myself coming here to heal. If you need something, this is the community to live in. We have people that care. And so I think that's rare. Fairbanks is a small community, and I was president of the chamber board the last year that Mayor Hove served. And we knew he wasn't going to rerun, so there was a lot of conversation about who do we get to serve. And the business community is about 20% of the population, but we often speak louder than others, so we think we're in charge, right? so we were chatting about who's going to run for mayor, who's going to surface, and who can we recruit to lead the borough. And Morris Thompson with Doyon, he was a Doyon CEO, we had just retired. So I thought, I loved Morris. He was a consensus builder. He was a listener. He honored process. So I approached him. I said, Maura, you need to be our next mayor. I remember we all lifted our water glasses and said to our next mayor. And I thought I was brilliant because I had been to campaign school twice. I'd worked with Ted Stevens and Frank Murkowski and Don Young, and so I said, Maury, I'll take a leave from the Wendy's restaurants and I'll do your campaign. He said, Rhonda, I'm going to do this if my wife doesn't disagree, and I'm going to take her to Mexico, and I'll give you a firm answer when I come back. The plane, that was the Alaska Airlines plane, went down off the coast of San Francisco. And I think there was, 89 people that died, and Morris and his wife and daughter were 3 of them. He was brilliant and wise, but it takes people like that to build a community. So after we lost our mayor's candidate and wonderful community leader, several of the business people asked me to join them to have a glass of wine and talk about who's going to be mayor. And in my heart, I knew they were going to ask me to do it. So, well, my husband's never going to agree with this. We have a partnership. And so I said to them, well, I'll ask Vern, talk to him, and see what he thinks and get back to you. And I knew that was an out for me because I was scared of being the mayor. Really, I didn't think I could do the job. And that night at dinner, I think one of them might have called him, because that night we had a little dinner date at the Velada, and he poured me a glass of wine and held it up and said, to the next mayor, I'll do everything I can to help you get elected. So that was my path to mayor. And there wasn't a day that I didn't go into that office that I would think, Lord, you better help me figure this out. I loved that job. I loved the people. And it is demanding. You are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But there were several things that have stayed in my heart and mind. One was the Morris Thompson Cultural Center. That started under Mayor Hove, private group, Ted Stevens, that 3 entities that occupy that building today, Tanana Chiefs, National Park Service, and the Visitors and Convention Bureau all occupy that space. They independently went to Senator Stevens and said, we need to build a place to work out of. And as under the brilliance of Senator Stevens, he was a brilliant man. And he said, no, you can all come together, we'll do one building, you can all work together, which made sense. And it was called the Morris Thompson Cultural Center. It was about the time that he died. As the fiscally conservative mayor, or the business background, I was not in love with that project because it was too big and I felt it would be a drain on the taxpayers. But of course I got what I used to fondly refer to as my little back to Jesus talks with Ted Stevens. He always was calling me and giving me unsolicited advice. But he called me and said, Rhonda, you need to get on board with this. And Dr. Wood had come to my office to talk about it. He was a proponent, and I loved Dr. Wood. I respected him. And we were trying to figure out how to put that building on city property also, and the borough that owns the riverfront. And it was too big to fit on the property, and I was concerned and kept saying, they're gonna have to maintain the park, the building. I was worried about the impact of the cost and how to make that work. And then we were in an assembly meeting, and at that point in my life, we had pagers, not cell phones. And my pager went off, and it was Dr. Woods in the hospital. I thought, oh my goodness, we've lost him. So I very quickly excused myself, ran up to the hospital. He was barely able to speak, but he did this with his fingers and said, Rhonda, make it work. Make the Morris Thompson Center work. And he interlocked his thumb and index finger. I thought, oh, I'm losing my friend. You know, anything that you would think in that situation. 2 days later, I was in the office working, as was the chief of staff at the time, Nadine Hargesheimer. And Nadine is a brilliant woman. She's a very good thinker. And we had that Morris Thompson project laid out on the conference table, overlapped the properties, and we're moving it around thinking, how are we going to make this work? And all of a sudden, I looked at Nadine and said, only a portion of the borough property has to be used. And the minute I said we overlap, Nadine said that works. And we solved that major problem to position that building where it was good for the borough and good for the city. That's what I think good mayors do. You just go to work and solve the problem. And with that comes responsibilities. And the responsibilities, it's not about you. It's not about what I'm making for salary in this job, who likes me, who doesn't like me. It's about what are you doing, what are we all doing to make it a better place to live, so that 25 years from now, the next mayor could sit here and say it's better than it was today.